Alright, so to get started with the underpainting, it's gonna be like a two-step process, and I feel like using these two steps makes it a little bit easier to work with. But you know, there's always like a lot of different ways you can work on the underpainting in Photoshop. I'm just showing you the method that I use though. So when you're working on your underpainting, typically the shadows you get from like either like drawings or paintings or just anything in general is always usually going to be end up being like a brown or dark brown color. So you know, a lot of times if you do a Google search on you know, underpainting, they do use this like kind of like a reddish brown or like a yellow brown color when they're doing underpaintings. The reason why they use those colors for underpaintings is because typically you know, a lot of times when people do paintings of things or objects, you know, they usually use like portraits as an example, and you know, a lot of times these brown colors is kind of like the darkest shadow on like a person's face, but that's kind of the reason why they use that brown color. But you know, you can always change those colors as you're working on more of it. So, alright, so you know, just remember you have your outline layer and then you have the background layer. So you want to actually create a new layer in between those two. So you're going to click on this new layer, and I'll just title this layer your shadows. Alright, but if you put the layers in between the outline and the background, and you know, let's just say I want to grab a brown color. I'll just use this brown right here. It doesn't matter which kind of brown you use, because you know, later on we're going to change it. And you know, I would actually use the fuzzy brush for the underpainting, because you know, this fuzzy brush is going to make it easier to blend your values together and just kind of like figure out where things are going to be. So I'm just going to use the fuzzy brush, you know, make it pretty big, and you know, for like the shadows, I might actually change the opacity to 30%. So this is going to change it 30% to the entire layer. So now when I'm just you know, laying out the colors, or maybe I might do a little bit higher than that, maybe like 50. I think that's pretty good. So on this layer here, I'm just laying out where I'm going to put my shadows. So I'm just doing this real quickly, just to get an idea of, you know, where my dark areas are going to be. So this is just to get you like a general idea of, you know, where you're going to place your shadows in the in your painting. So like one nice thing about doing it this way is, you know, a lot of times when this is kind of like the same way as if you're using like a paintbrush and it's like a very watered down paint. So you know, you can still see your outlines, but you know, you're kind of just like figuring out where those dark areas are, and then you want to just keep those areas white. You know, just keep it white. So you know, just remember, if you know, you do too much of the shadows, you can always go back to the eraser, and then you can again, I would change the eraser to the fuzzy brush, and you know, you just kind of erase it. So I'm just figuring out where all my light and dark areas are. You know, I'm just doing this real quickly. Shouldn't take too long. So I got shadows here. I got a cast shadow in the background, another cast shadow on the ground, and then this is like a cast shadow from the entire bag. So you know, look carefully at where your shadows are, and just get like a rough idea of where all those shadows are going to be. And then under the table here, this is all going to be in shadow. So this is going to give me a general idea of like where my light and dark areas are going to be. And then I have like another shadow on this side over here too. Alright, and again, I'm just using the 100 opacity, so they're all like the same value. I'm not really worried about like blending things out yet. I'm just like figuring out where I'm going to put my shadows in the picture. I might want to erase this a little bit more. Yeah, don't worry about the blending. You just want to get like where all the hard shadows are going to be. Let's get a general idea. So I think this is pretty good here. So again, you know, this is like a little bit too dark. You know, it might be a little bit too dark. You can always line it up with the opacity. You kind of want to get something that's like in the middle, like could be like your middle gray. All right, so yeah, you want to determine your shadows, and it's not gonna really take you too long to do. But like, this is like the next part of the digital painting. So I'm just gonna zoom in a little closer on the on this pumpkin here. So this is the part where you're actually gonna start your underpainting. So after you've made the layer with your shadows, then you want to make a we can do this in parts first. All right, so why don't we just stop right here? So I want you guys to just make a new layer, just make it shadows, put it on the below the outline, and you can just change the opacity. I left mine at like 73, and then actually like the next part. But after this part, this is where you're gonna start to do your the underpainting.